stand. My question to you out there is, are you willing to take a stand? Are you willing to be a business or an individual that's willing to wear a shirt that says that, you know what, we want to back the police. We want to back the people that protect us. Are you willing to wear a face mask that does it? Or are you willing to maybe possibly offend people? Guys, today we're going to talk about a little news article that came out in Ohio about a football team that they took a photograph, and a bunch of them were wearing different flags, well, carrying a bunch of different flags, American flag, the Ohio flag, and one had the thin blue line, which represents what? Do you know, Aaron?
Supportive police.
Supportive police, right?
Yeah.
It's Blue Lives Matters or Defend the Blue or Back the Blue or whatever you think, right? And apparently this got controversial. Do you have any idea why defending the police would be controversial?
Marxism. No. I think it's popular right now to basically support one side of the political spectrum and not the other. And unfortunately, the police, and with the whole Defund the Police movement that popped up not too long ago, it's been very politicized. And unfortunately, if you defend police, you are relegated to a side of the political spectrum that unfortunately just isn't that popular right now.
It's one of the stupidest things I've ever heard in my life, where by just you supporting somebody who defends you, it is controversial. It just doesn't make any sense. I mean, police are known as first responders, right? They're known as protectors. And I understand there's some bad people out there. There's some bad people in every industry that I think we've seen. And I think, there's some bad doctors out there. There's some, well, I could use a different term, but there's some doctors that are very arrogant out there. There are some doctors that are definitely in it for the money. But you know what? I mean, I thank God every day that we live in a country where we have some really good doctors. And if I ever get hurt, my wife ever gets hurt, or my kids ever get hurt, I'm definitely thankful that they can go to a doctor that they're going to get really good service, right? It doesn't just defame every doctor out there. But you know what's different about police is I don't think they do it for the money. You think they do it for the money?
They definitely don't, just like teachers don't do it for the money necessarily. I don't think they do, and I think that unfortunately the hypocrisy runs so deep too that you're seeing a lot of, like, what is it, the mayor of, is it Detroit? Chicago, and she's basically saying, I'm going to have the police protect my neighborhood because I have the right to protect my home. And so you've seen this case after case of people who, rail against funding police and reorganizing police and defunding the police that also very much use police protection. So it's clearly just a political thing. And it's basically just playing to a popular, unfortunately, I think, young person's point of view that, to be a liberal Democrat and to, to be a liberal Democrat means you have to be against the police. And if you're for police, that puts you on the other side of the spectrum.
Can you be a liberal Democrat and be for the police? Is that okay to do? Can we go ahead and ask some of these liberals to be for the police? Because I think, they may not totally understand what is going on. They may not totally understand that when you dial 911, that it's not just police sometimes. Sometimes they send out fire trucks, or sometimes they send out ambulances. But I think what they also forget, that when you talk about a first responder and a police officer, sometimes they're the first people on the scene to help your choking child, a drowning kid, somebody in a burning car. I mean, there are countless YouTubes out there and videos where you have police officers saving somebody from a burning car, or where you have somebody doing the Heimlich maneuver on a child, where you have a police officer de-escalating a really poor situation. So there are a lot of good things that come of it, and we're just going to go ahead and lump them all together and now say, well, because there's a few bad police officers out there, now this right here, what I'm wearing, is offensive.
Well, I think that it gets to an even bigger issue, which is that unfortunately, common sense is not in vogue right now. And so unfortunately, it doesn't matter what makes common sense. If it's not lining up with the political popular point of view, then you are shouted down in the streets. And I think that, to your point, look at New York. As soon as they actually began to defund the police, and I'll give them credit, they put their money where their mouth was and they stood behind it. And who was it? Cuomo is the governor of New York, and he said defund the police. And I don't know that they fully did, but they did a lot. And I think the murder rate went up like 124%, something astronomical. It was like the most murders in a 2-week period or 6-month period.
It's like the Purge in real life.
Yeah, it really was. And so, but again, they turn a blind eye to it. And you know what Cuomo says of how he handled everything so far? He says he did a great job.
Yeah, well, and I think it's every city that's defunding the police. You're seeing massive fallout from it, and I love what the Texas governor said. He said, if you're gonna, if I have a city defunding police, then I'm gonna withhold some federal funding, I think is what he said.
Yeah.
And I love that. I love that some states are willing to take a stand. My question to you out there is, are you willing to take a stand? Are you willing to be a business or an individual that's willing to wear a shirt that says that, we want to back the police. We want to back the people that protect us. Are you willing to wear a face mask that does it? Or are you willing to maybe possibly offend people and or just open up a conversation? Are you willing to do that? And I'm hoping that some of you guys are out there that are willing to either publicly display this in some fashion, whether it's a shirt, whether it's a face mask. I don't sell any of this stuff, so there's nothing in it for me. Or put a flag in your front yard. I probably have all three, because I really like offending people, or at least creating some conversation. Let's create some conversation with it. And if you guys want to know more about this, we did an awesome episode, I think it was episode 11, and called Defunding the Police, where we have a police officer on there. If you guys want to hear more about this, listen to that episode.
And hear from an actual police officer on the subject.
Yes. Thank you.